Welcome in, everybody. Tuesday, November 14th. It is 5:30 Mountain Time because we do have our mountainous friend, Coach Holmes, on the podcast today. 7:30 Eastern. I am joined by Pat Finn. We are the Sons of Saturday here to preview the home finale against NC State. Virginia Tech and NC State come into this game ranked 4th and 5th in the ACC, bolstering 4-2 records in conference. Dave Doran is 7-3. Coach Pry is 5-5. Coach Doran has dealt with impossible circumstances to this point and honestly has done a masterful job. And Coach Pry is looking for his first bowl berth, looking to stay undefeated in ACC play. Ton of storylines. We're going to break it all down here for you. But first, we can't start Sons of Saturday podcast without some poetry. And poetry we got. Pat did have to pound his fists a little bit. We had slow adoption on the poetry submissions, but we did shake the tree and get some out here. So Pat, what do we got?
Yeah, we got 4. I'll read Grady B's at the end. He texted me his 5 minutes ago, referencing your James Franklin isms from last week's pod. Hokie hack, the sun sets in lane. The fans will bring all the noise. Defense brings the pain. Robbie Emerson, Section 3 for me. Bowl season is in the air. Show out in Blacksburg. Gobble shots tailgate. He says, either who or Wolf, Armstrong will face the same fate. Saxburg haunts his dreams.
That's awesome.
Chitter chatter?
So, Coach Holmes, you're on the pod, not only because you're great at breaking down the X's and O's, but this is your first time in Blacksburg in a very long time. Just give us the rundown. First time back since when? Favorite trips to Blacksburg? What's the 4-1?
So, this is my first time since 2018, the UVA game in 2018. My son, who is now 10, we went to that game when he was 5, and then that next year in summer of 2019, we moved to Colorado. So it's just and we did go to the Belk Bowl when we lost to Kentucky. I don't really count that because that's a bowl game. But again, like I said, I'm a multi-generational Hokie. I've been going to games since I was very, 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 very little. Dad and mom are both alumni. My grandfather, great uncle. Run it down where we are Hokies through and through. So I've been going to games for forever. We used to tailgate back when Chicken Hill was public parking. That's a long time. And you didn't need to have Hokie club status to get seats. You kind of just folded right into wherever you needed to go. And by the way, I will say, I know this is the last, I know y'all probably going to talk about this too, but it's the last rendezvous for Section 5. But we were, or I would say not original Section 5ers, but our original season tickets were Section 5 row U. So we had those. And so we were, when y'all started talking about Section 5 and I first started listening to you, I was like, oh, yep. I knew what all that's about.
That's awesome.
Best seats in the house.
Without a doubt. Make sure you all check out Coach Holmes, Hokie Hitter. He does a breakdown on the chalkboard or the whiteboard, whatever you want to call it, the smart board of a play that made a difference every single week. But what about Hokie history? What do we got with NC State? Let's talk about it.
Oh, little Hokie history here for our friends in Raleigh. Virginia Tech and NC State first met in 1900. So you got over 100 years here since the first meeting. 52nd meeting overall between Tech and NC State. So that is pretty astounding that we've played them over 50 times. Tech leads the all-time series, 28 wins, 19 losses, and 4 ties. Pretty decent tie ratio there. Over the last 7 games, Virginia Tech has won 5. We could start off with talking about 2022. We do not have to talk about it for long. It was awful. It sucked. It was a Thursday night. Went with my guy, Joey Lane, and it was a catastrophe. The tailgate was a lot of fun. Did get to check out the Raleigh scene. They had a lot of live music and some cool setups over in Raleigh. Outside of Carter Finley, they have the PNC Arena where the Hurricanes play hockey and where the Wolfpack play basketball. So, they utilize all that space. It's a cool setup. It's not on campus. It's different. But we surrendered a 21-3 lead in that ball game, and MJ Morris kind of just dominated us in the second half. And that's it. I drank an Old Tuffy IPA. That was cool. And it was very cool to see they have a dog. They have a puppy. I don't know what kind of – it's a black lab, and it goes out and grabs the tea after every single kickoff. So that was pretty cool. Good boy. Better games. I always like to see what's cooking in the series snapshot. And the series snapshot on Hokie Sports did have some good highlights here. 2020, WTF I have written next to this because this was not supposed to be the opening game of the 2020 season. And then our Virginia game, which was the initial game of 2020, got moved because, COVID and contact tracing and all that. So we played NC State to kick the season off at home in front of, limited fans. We had almost 24 guys out, some coaches out, and we absolutely destroyed NC State that night. And this was Devin Leary. It was Devin Leary, wasn't it? It was Devin Leary. Yeah. Devin Leary was their quarterback. We sacked him 6 times. We had 7 tackles for loss. We had 2 picks. Diablo had a pick. Quincy Patterson filled in here. This was the Braxton Burr-Mustard game where he was cramping up and said that he came over to the sideline and got mustard packets to relieve the cramps. Khalil Herbert had 104 yards on only 6 carries. Could you imagine a world where we are only giving Khalil Herbert 6 carries? That was his first ever game in Lane Stadium. Did have a touchdown. And then, this roster was loaded. 2020 roster, absolutely loaded. Unfortunately, we were never really able to field the 2020 team that we wanted to with all the COVID nonsense going on week over week. But we'll actually jump back into the time machine a full decade from 2020. 2010 at NC State, one of my favorite games in Virginia Tech history. You got a Virginia Tech team that really has nothing to lose, even though I guess we had everything to lose because we hadn't lost in conference yet. But this team had a Boise State loss and a JMU loss under their belt. It was an end of September game. We were unranked, and we went into Carter Finley Stadium in Raleigh and all of a sudden had a 17-0 deficit. Knew that this team could come back from 17-0 because you guys remember what happened in Landover, Maryland against Boise State. But this one actually went in our favor and we won the game. A lot of that was sparked off of the heels of David Wilson's kick return to kick off the second half. And then Russell Wilson was picked off by Jaron Hosley 3 times this afternoon, which somehow didn't make the series snapshot. I don't know how you tell the story of the 2010 game without talking about how Jaron Hosley had 3 picks. He led the nation in picks in 2010, but you also had some serious efforts here on offense from Tyrod Taylor and Darren Evans. They combined for 281 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, and then Tyrod said, hey, I can use my arm as well. 3 touchdowns through the air. Big time Jared Boykin game. I remember Andre Smith, I think, might have had a touchdown here. Awesome comeback. Hokies win 41-30. And then we got 2 more on the
Before we depart the 2010s, we have to talk about the Thursday night game in 2015. Isaiah Ford, 3 touchdowns. Brendan Motley fills in. That was a weird game. It was pouring rain in the beginning of that football game. Brendan Motley goes for delayed. Mansour delayed football game. You had Brendan Motley goes 14 for 28 for 158. Hokie scored 21 points in the second quarter. Isaiah Ford scores 21 points in the second quarter. And Virginia Tech goes on the way to win 28-13. That's one that's forgettable, but I mean, there's so much that happened in that game. You had the Adonis Alexander sideline interception, which was crazy.
Yes.
Man, that was, and it was Jacoby Brissett, who at the time you're saying, hold on a second, is this guy going to be an NFL quarterback? And I'm pretty sure he's still in the league as of right now.
He is still in the league, yeah, but I guess we didn't even talk about NC State kind of being their own QBU in some ways, shapes, or forms. I'm glad you brought up the 2015 game because I was racking my brain. I didn't look at the game-by-game log. I was just kind of, checking out the highlights. And I think 2015 is kind of one of those seasons, it was Frank's last year. But also, when you lose your starting quarterback to injury for, a good third chunk of the season, it's kind of hard to remember how those seasons go if you don't have, like a 2006 or a 2017 defense.
People might get upset with this. I've talked about it before with we were just talking about this with Michael Brewer and Isaiah. For as much flippy floppy reviews as you hear about Michael Brewer, which in my opinion you shouldn't, I think that's a team that would have been really, really good barring that injury. That was a team where Isaiah and Cam are a year older. You have Bucky still playing tight end. You have a pretty talented defense. I mean, you saw how good the 2016 team was. I think that 2015 team could have been really, really good if Michael Brewer wasn't talking smack at halftime and the gods had I think it was Adolphus Washington fall all 900 pounds on his collarbone there.
Still might have had a shot in that Ohio State game if he had stayed healthy.
He graded out. I'll never forget it. Coach Leffler walks in the room and he looks at Michael Brewer and I think he shook his hand or something. And he goes, "This man right here graded out a perfect 100 and a half of football, everybody." And it was, but now he played his tail off in that first half.
Oh man, what a night that was, having that halftime lead. All right, we'll go back to 2009. 2009 scored a lot of points in 2009. You know why? Because we had a guy named Ryan Williams, number 34, redshirt freshman in the backfield, ran for 21 touchdowns, 1,655 rushing yards, even caught a few as well. On this night, it was November 20-something. It was late in the year. We hosted NC State in 2009. We were out of coastal contention because we had lost a head-to-head to Georgia Tech and Joshua Nesbitt. So this was kind of just, jockeying for that good bowl game position here. We ended up beating Tennessee in the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Ryan Williams, 4 touchdowns on the night and 120 yards on the ground this night. He broke the freshman rushing record this day as well. It was his 8th 100-yard running game on the year. There was a touchdown he did score in this game. I sent it to you guys over text and I put it on Twitter, where he dragged Earl Wolf at least 12 yards. It was a 19-yard touchdown run, and he dragged him all the way down that southeast sideline. And Earl grabbed onto his jersey, and Ryan Williams says, "Hey, listen, I don't care. You can get on." Jared Boykin had a big day that day, 164 yards receiving and a touchdown. We sacked the quarterback, Russell Wilson, 6 times. We forced 4 turnovers that day. You guys might know Cody Grimm. Cody Grimm tied some records that day, forced 3 fumbles in that game. And the funny thing about it is that all 3 of those fumbles were on the first 4 defensive plays from scrimmage. Honestly, just a simply ridiculous stat.
He's a man-child. He has his own zip code.
And then we'll finish things up. I know. We got 2 more. We got a bonus at the end that I didn't add that we'll kick over. No, that's a good pun. 2005, Tech goes into Raleigh week 1 as defending ACC champs. We're ranked top 10. We got a stacked roster. Marcus Vick at quarterback coming back, because he was suspended all of 2004, and Eddie Royal, Xavier Deeby, Vince Hall, Mike Emo. Had 2 rushing touchdowns from Emo and from Marcus. And then the Senator, Aaron Rouse, had a huge game in Raleigh. 8 tackles, a forced fumble, 2 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. So big-time win on the road to kick off the 2005 season. And then what happened way back when? What's the historic bowl game victory we got going on in 86?
Coach Holmes, this
talk
must have
about
been when you were in school, huh?
yeah, I was the only one alive when this took place. 1986, the last game before the Frank Beamer era, Chris Kinzer kicks a game-winning field goal to beat the Wolfpack in the 1986 Peach Bowl. And Bill Dooley had resigned earlier that year under allegations of improprieties, and Beamer was hired about 7 days before that game took place, and won the game. And that was I think that was our first bowl win in
That's
Hokie
got to be
history.
perfect because you have no coach to run sprints for after the post game celebration. So well done.
That's right.
Well done by Mr. Kinzer. Fun fact for everybody, Coach Holmes, this is breaking news to you. So Chris Kinzer is actually going to be joining the show this week to talk a little bit about his game and his time at Virginia Tech. So we're really, really looking forward to having him on here. But it's time for storylines. I came up with this before the show. We're going to call it Storylines by the Slice, brought to you by the Virginia Slice, available all over the great East Coast Atlantic region, Charlotte, Charlottesville, Blacksburg, Charleston. Charlotte, you can't. I tried to do a play on Charleston. You just can't make it work. But anywhere that you can get Benny's Pizza, you mentioned the Sons of Saturday, you're getting $5 off. You're getting $5 off. You're the hero of your tailgate. You're the hero of your game watching situation. Go ahead and do that. Benny's Pizza, Sons of Saturday, $5 off of your pie. Now, I don't think you can start storylines without saying a guy that I absolutely love and Virginia Tech people love, Coach Wiles, Coach Charlie Wiles, is on staff at NC State. I can't say enough positive things about him. His ability, one of the things that I learned from him as a leader was his ability to connect with a player and motivate a player the way that they needed to specifically be motivated. You are going to motivate a Ricky Walker much differently than you are going to motivate a Corey Marshall, for example. You are going to motivate a Vinny Mahota much differently than you are going to motivate a Daddy Nicholas. And to see him do that day in and day out, and the relationship that he just didn't go to foster with his defensive line players, he did it with the entire team. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for Coach Wiles, and he is currently on staff at NC State.
Can I tag something on that, Billy, real quick? There is when I was coaching in North Carolina, he was our primary recruiter. And I loved being able to interact with him every time he would come by and talk in the coach's office. You know, he always sat down with you and would ask about how you're doing and ask how your family's doing first. And he knew the kids already. He was all about developing relationships, just like you said. And you know, I know that he's doing well at NC State. That was kind of his recruiting territory for a long time. But yeah, great Hokie.
And he's one more thing on him and his tenure, his ability. Because look, Virginia Tech, especially towards the end of Coach Beamer's tenure, he was getting absolutely everything out of every single player that was recruited to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech ran a scheme that allowed us to really be productive with not having the 330-pound defensive tackle, the 6'7" defensive end who runs like a 4.3. And they all did a phenomenal job developing that talent. So again, just another hat to a great Hokie and an owner of one of the lunch pails. Coach Foster has only given out 2 or 3 of those in his entirety existing with Virginia Tech, and Coach Wiles is the proud holder of one of them. Absolutely deserves it.
So speaking of getting people fired up, like Coach Wiles could, I got to get Lane Stadium and I got to get Hokie Nation fired up. And just talking about, we got to start a dialogue here about Lane Stadium and Virginia Tech at home this fall campaign and how special it has been. You know, this is our last opportunity to hang out together on a Saturday. It's a perfect post-daylight savings 3:30 kick. It's essentially a night game that's not really a night game. And I'm fired up because let's just talk about the season so far at home. Old Dominion, week 1, night game. You get the monkey off your back. You get the Old Dominion monkey off your back. And you win comfortably. Week 2, Purdue. Arguably the strangest day in Lane Stadium history. If you were there, you really are probably scarred. There's some people, like a Mike Holmes, who might not come back to Blacksburg every game. They might come back once every 3 years, once every 5 years, or just once a year. If that Purdue game was all you got to experience this year,
I'm sorry.
It was fun until it wasn't fun. And if you stayed, it was still fun. We lost the game. Not fun. But, just comparing that to the rest of the year, it's completely different. You get Pittsburgh at home, which was like an all-time vibe game. Lane Stadium at night, opening conference play, Terror Dome, just completely shut down Phil Dracovic. Everyone knew that our backs were against the wall, and so Pittsburgh's, and we took them and really just won comfortably. Wake Forest, homecoming. It was a 3:30 game. It was just a classic Virginia Tech complimentary football victory at home in conference play. And then Syracuse just a few weeks ago, Thursday night, first Thursday night dub since 2016, and just doing it in completely demolishing fashion where we're almost disinterested in the second half. That's how good it was. That's how good it was. We've been winning comfortably at home against these teams in conference. That said, this NC State team is the best team to come to Lane Stadium this fall. Got to save the best for last, which means as a fan base, we got to save our best for last here. The kids, the students, they're sticking around. They're not going home for Thanksgiving until after this football game, the ones that'll be here. So they're going to bring the juice. It's their last opportunity. And I'm pretty excited. And also the Section 5 send-off. We don't know what the section is going to be next year, but we do know that we're going to bring all the juice on Saturday. So Bruce and the Section 7 crew, y'all better get ready, because I know you got like 1.5 more false starts than we do on the year, and we're coming for that title. Only got 60 minutes left.
No MJ Morris. We're going to talk about that in the offensive breakdown. But this is one of the more interesting storylines of this game that I made up myself. I was seeing a lot of Coach of the Year conversation. Coach Holmes, you messaged this in the big writers group chat, but it's interesting to look at, right? So let's talk about who can win ACC Coach of the Year. Florida State, self-explanatory. Coach Norvell has done an amazing job. He has a really talented unit. Goes out, beats LSU, has won every single game. He's more talented than every single team he's probably played this year, especially when you factor in how bad LSU's defense has been, but nonetheless, really impressive. You look at Coach Brom at Louisville. We all thought they were going to be pretty damn good. They're probably way better than we anticipated. One loss on the season, handles Virginia Tech very well. They're a talented group. They deserve more people in the stadium to go watch them play, but he's done a great job. And then you look past the obvious two answers and you say, okay, what about Brent Key? Brent Key at Georgia Tech. He came in, huge rebuild, and he's been slaying teams, punching above their weight for the season, beating UNC, beating Miami, 1 game away from bowl eligibility. Really impressive. And then you look at this game. You look at Coach Pry and you look at Dave Doran. Let's look at D2 first. Overcame extreme adversity this year. New quarterback, new offensive coordinator. Quarterback says, I actually don't want to play anymore, so I'm not going to. Decides to sit down, has to switch quarterbacks. And ho-hum, he's 7-3. He's beaten Miami. He's beaten Clemson. He's had some awesome walk-off interview moments with Taylor Tannenbaum and everyone else. He's a fantastic listen. He's a great, great personality. He's also become NC State's most winningest coach with 78 wins in 11 seasons. So congratulations to Coach Doran. And then you look at Coach Pry. With a win this weekend, he doubles his win total last year. He clinches a bowl berth, undefeated at home in conference play, completely retooled this team in the middle of the season. Right after the Marshall game, you get the bye week, you adjust the offense, you figure out a way to make it work with Kyron Drones because the formula that you use for Grant Wells is not going to work for Kyron Drones. And I got to tell you, Virginia Tech's picked to finish 11th in the ACC. Currently, they're 5th right now with a chance to climb. I'm not saying that a win here gives one of these coaches an inside track to this award. I do think absolutely that these two coaches have an opportunity to be in this conversation or assert themselves into winning the actual award. So to sum that all up, hats off to both of them. They've done an incredible job on adjusting on the fly. So props to them. We're about to display this offense. I will give my final storyline of the season. One of the cool traditions that Virginia Tech has, instilled by Coach Beamer, is you have 3 players who run out with 3 flags every single game. You have the Virginia flag, you have the Spirit flag, and you have the American flag. Now, Virginia Tech has a chance to hit the triple and award these flags to opposing quarterbacks who don't like coming to Lane Stadium very often. That's Mr. Schrader holding the Virginia flag. You got Phil Dracovic carrying the Spirit flag. And you got our guy, Brennan Armstrong, with the American flag. Can we hit the trifecta of nightmares for quarterbacks we have seen for too many years? The opportunity is here. It has arrived. Let's go ahead and let's do it. Let's talk about the offense. Coach Holmes, talk to me about NC State.
Well, Brennan Armstrong runs the show. That I know he struggled at times earlier in the season, and that's why he was benched and replaced by MJ Morris. They believe that with Morris's youth, it gave him a little bit more time to grow, kind of like how we approached our situation with Kyron Drones and Grant Wells. Good old philosophy is if you got a senior and a sophomore that are the same level, you play the sophomore because he's got a higher ceiling. He's got room to grow. So you can understand why Dave Doran made that move. And then, I don't know the ins and outs of what happened there in Raleigh, but now Brennan Armstrong is back running the show.
Well, hold on. What do you think the ins and outs of what happened at NC State are? You're a coach. You've dealt with personalities before. We all know the, how can I say it? The difference of how it all kind of works nowadays. So what have you as a, I don't want to say a conscientious objector, but as a spectator, what is your view on the situation?
So I believe what might have happened, we were hitting the 4-game window, where player has an opportunity to either redshirt and come back next year and save that extra year or keep playing. I think we had that conversation with Tucker Holloway on our side last year. I believe Dave Doran went to MJ Morris and said, we want to sit you. We want to save you for the rest of the year. MJ Morris probably didn't agree with that. But at the end of the day, it's Dave Doran's call, and he basically, I think MJ Morris took his ball and went home, for the lack of a better term. And I think that's what it was. Based on Dave Doran's sound bites coming from the press conference where he announced it, he sounded so downtrodden, like he was at his wits' end, and that can go one of two ways. It can either be a galvanizing force for an offensive side that struggled for a lot of the year, or it can be something where the entire side of the ball folds. And I really think with Brennan Armstrong coming back, he had a pretty good game last week, and his feet are going to be the thing that's really going to bother Tech's defense. Just like Schrader from Syracuse, just like Castellanos from Boston College, we played some quarterback. Grant Wilson from ODU. We played some quarterbacks that have hurt us with their feet at times, but I think we have a pretty good kind of gauge on that, on how to stop that based on what we've done against Syracuse and what we've done against Boston College. Brennan Armstrong, I think, has a little bit of advantage against us because he has played Virginia Tech before. He's played in Lane Stadium. It's not going to be a novel thing for him, and so I think he probably is going to be able to carry that into the rest of his team. But other than Brennan Armstrong, their leading receiver Concepcion is a deep threat. He's their go-to guy. He has 573 yards on 50 catches. With a long of 72. I watched a little bit of their game last week, and they line him up all over the field. There's really nobody else close to him in number of catches. Very similar to I believe Boston College receiver they have one receiver that had all their catches, and nobody else was even really close. So we'll probably play a similar game plan to be able to stop them. I would like to think. It's going to require us to be sound on the defensive line, play gap sound up front, and not let those rush lanes be created. We did a really good job against Boston College after that first series, making adjustments to stop that from happening. We did that for Garrett Schrader at Syracuse, not letting those run lanes, those escape lanes happen for the quarterback. And, I think it's something that's going to allow us to hopefully contain Brennan Armstrong, because that's what he does best, is when he's able to get outside of the pocket and use his feet to make plays and extend plays and be able to find guys open downfield. But I think with our secondary, we're sound enough on the back end to be able to lock down the receivers. We can high-low Concepcion there, and then and be able to wrangle them in.
I have a fun fact for you guys, because I was just doing some Googling throughout, and KC Concepcion is the name of the best wide receiver here, as Coach Holmes was talking about at NC State. KC Concepcion is also a name of a Filipino actress and singer. So if you actually look up KC Concepcion, the Filipino actress and singer comes up before the NC State wide receiver. But KC at NC State, he's only a freshman. So there's not that much data out there to populate the SEO of Google. So maybe this time next year, or maybe in a few years, instead of KC Concepcion from the Philippines, it'll be KC from Charlotte, North Carolina, who plays for NC State. Also, I think we just need to have a Brennan Armstrong moment. Like the fact that what is Hootie and the Blowfish? He has like a lyric, and it's like, "Thank God for all that I've missed, because it's led me here to this." And it's just like Brennan Armstrong having to play in Lane Stadium again, but this time in front of fans. Brennan Armstrong, Coach Holmes, is familiar with Lane Stadium, but you know what he's not familiar with? 66,000 raucous Hokie fans, like you and me and Billy Ray hanging out and getting after it. But it is wild to know that Brennan Armstrong in 2021 passed for 4,449 yards, and
under this offensive coordinator, by the way,
and passed for 31 touchdowns in 2021. Just like completed 326 passes in 2021 and accounted for 4,700 total yards in 2021. I just I'm just like mind blown that it has gone this poorly for Brennan Armstrong. I want that to continue, obviously, for our sake, but what broke Brennan Armstrong? Was it the pass to the offensive tackle in 2021?
I really don't know. I mean, on Hot Wings and Hot Takes this year, I said that I don't remember who the second quarterback was, but I said that Brennan Armstrong and I don't know if it was the Miami quarterback or Phil Dracovic or whoever it was. I said that they would combine for more yards than Drake May and Jordan Travis, which wasn't just a hot take; it was a stupid take, completely wrong. I have no idea. When Dave Doran brought in this offensive coordinator and brought in Brennan Armstrong, and you looked at the roster, He said, all right, this team has a chance to be pretty good. And it was, quite frankly, not out of the gate. MJ Morris comes out, saves the day. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where it's gone. I will say that UVA benefited from, it's not talked about a lot. I feel like UVA's wide receiver room from like 2019 to 2021 was really, really good. They had large, athletic, awesome wide receivers at UVA, and it wasn't talked about.
Well, they had that big tight end, Jelani Woods, who I think is with the Colts now. Yeah. I think that's the difference. The skill people around them, and
Dontavian Wicks, who was really good.
NC State just doesn't have those guys. The Concepcion is a freshman, which means he's got tendencies, and it's usually what that youth entails. It's going to be, there's a reason they haven't put up a whole lot of points. Even in their wins, they haven't put up a whole lot of points. They haven't scored a lot. They just don't have, NC State I used to live in Raleigh. I used to go to a bunch of NC State games when Tech was playing away. But you're talking like T.A. McClendon, and you're talking about, they used to have a stable of running backs that when Chuck Amato was there, that would just pound you into the ground. And they just don't have those guys anymore.
Flipping over to the defense. Wow, we stumbled into a fun riff there. Is UVA WRU in the ACC for 3 years? I don't know. Alameda Zacchaeus, they had some good wide receivers. I don't know. Flipping over to the defense, the one thing that jumped off the page for me for this NC State defense is they are a senior-laden team. They have a ton of upperclassmen on their unit. They have only given up 29 points in their last three contests. They have the third-ranked rushing defense in the ACC, giving up just over 100 yards, 100.3 to be exact. And they're really, really good on third down. They're the best in the ACC on getting you off the field on third down, giving up conversions only 27% of the time. But past that, Coach Holmes, what is the advanced scout on the NC State defense?
So very opportunistic. They have 14 takeaways this year. They're the guy that should scare every single person on the Virginia Tech offensive side of the ball is Peyton Wilson. The guy is all over the field. He is a machine. He's got 112 tackles through 10 games this year, 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. He literally is all over the place. If we have to game plan around one person, it's that guy. And he will line up all over the field. He doesn't have a particular side that he likes to line up on. He'll be in the middle sometimes. He'll be right side, left side. We just have to know where he is at all times. I know that they are telling Kyron Drones in the meetings this week, find number 11. Wherever number 11 is, he's going to be the tell on some of your reads, wherever he is. If we have an outside zone play called, Peyton Wilson's on that side, keep it, run it up the gut. So it's going to be key to make sure that he doesn't affect the game. But outside of Peyton Wilson, defensive lineman Devin Van and all name team guy Red.
They got a bunch of names, man. They got a bunch. whoever's calling the game. I think it's Cotter, and I think it's our boy the Mohawk man. Who's the Mohawk man from Boston College?
Oh, Herzlich.
Herzlich. Yeah, I think they're on the call. They're gonna have some serious work to do here, getting ready for these names.
But Devin Van and Red Hibbler. Hibbler's a JUCO transfer. They both have 5.5 sacks each. Van also has 7 tackles for loss. So they got 2 guys that are up front, like you mentioned before, Billy, that are older guys. They'll get in the backfield. Hopefully we can take advantage of their aggressiveness. We haven't run a screen in a couple weeks. Maybe it's time to start breaking that screen game back out a little bit to try to loosen up that pass rush a little bit. But the key on this side for handle NC State's defense, we have to do what we do best on offense. If we try to overthink and outthink the room, and try to do a little too much, that's going to be what ends up hurting us. That's what happened against Louisville. In Florida State, where we came out, tried to throw the ball a bunch. Establish the run game. If we have to throw the ball more than 20 times, it's going to be a long day for the Hokies. So just get out there and run the ball, take advantage. If they have any youth, I believe it's more in their secondary and versus their front seven. So maybe we can take advantage of that secondary a little bit.
You're there. Hey, got you now.
Okay, sorry. I'm in the Hampton Inn in St. George, Utah. So internet's a little sketchy. So what was the last thing y'all heard?
Taking advantage of that secondary.
Yeah, take advantage of the secondary. A lot of times if we can get Tootin to the outside, or we can throw some quick screens to Jalen Lane, maybe some jet sweeps. I know that's a dirty word, but maybe get those guys to the outside. And that younger secondary, they usually don't like to tackle a whole lot. So maybe we can take advantage of that. So spread the wealth. Don't let NC State take away one singular weapon, make them have to guard everybody. Very similar to what we did, I believe, against Syracuse, where a whole bunch of different people were catching passes. We got a lot of different people involved. Syracuse, even though they had a pretty decent defense themselves, really had no idea what to take away, and they just kind of had to sit back and play base defense. So, again, that is definitely the strength of their team, is their defense. They try to limit the amount of people, limit the amount of scoring that goes on. But I think if we stay balanced in our attack and are able to utilize our guys in space and get them the ball, I think we can be successful.
Special teams, elevator pitch in the special teams. Is there anything special about these guys' special teams?
Not really. The punter got a pretty good leg, averages 43 yards a kick. Their field goal kicker is 75% on the year. He is 70% though from 40 plus. From 40 to 49, he's 100% on the year. I think 6 for 6. He does have one over 50, so it's not too bad. But again, use Peter Moore to our advantage. We are not going to score every drive like we did against Boston College. It's not going to happen. We are going to get stopped from time to time. So we have to use Peter Moore to take advantage of field position and be able to pin him deep. Maybe do something sneaky. Let Stu Holt get in his bag a little bit more again, and mix something up here on special teams. They're going to be looking for it. They're going to be that we've already shown it a couple times. So the pass rush may be limited a little bit on our punt. In our punt game, and let's take advantage of field position. Keep them pinned back in their own zone.
Two things on special teams. One, their punter, his last name is Noonkester. When you look at it visually, it reads as Noon Kickster, big noon kickoff guy. Their punter. Secondly, just thinking about kicking and NC State, I totally forgot, and it was unintentionally forgot the 2004 Hokie history between Tech and NC State. I remember Chuck Amato was happy to see Tech miss a field goal in the waning seconds of the 2004 game in Lane Stadium, but we will not get into that anymore here. Keys to the game. We can get all in those keys to the game. I guess I'll start. It looks like my notes are first here. In our Hokie history, we did talk about in some of those wins, a common denominator was turning over NC State, and a common denominator was getting pressure on the quarterback. And there's no difference here. Get pressure on Brennan Armstrong. He has not played that much since September. He's thrown 17 passes since the month of September. Get after Brennan Armstrong around the edge. If we can get in the backfield, if we could have another big time sack night like we've already had, most of the time here in Lane Stadium, I think getting after Brennan Armstrong will be a key indicator of how this defense allows us to flip the field and play complementary football and win this football game here. Coach Holmes, what are your keys to the game?
Pat, you already mentioned it earlier. Bring nighttime Lane Stadium energy to an afternoon kickoff. Throw NC State off their game, make it loud, be the 12th man. Do it, and Virginia Tech has to come out and play with intensity, play with aggression, just like we did last week at Boston College. Bully them around a little bit. Be that. If we have to wake them up at 3 o'clock, we'll wake them up at 3 o'clock and get them ready to go. Whatever works. We got to make sure that we come out of that tunnel. I know it's senior day; it's a different schedule. We gotta figure out how to not let that throw us off and come out on fire, come out sharp, no mercy from the opening kick to the final whistle. And I believe that 30 points is the threshold. NC State, I don't believe they can score 30 points on us. So if 30 points is going to be our threshold, it has been all year. We hit 30 points, we'll win the game.
I'm going to triple down on what you said, and I'm actually going to take a few notes from one of the best in the business who does it. His name's Josh Pate. Late kick with Josh Pate. As soon as I'm done, I got the notification. It'll be coming up. So I'll take a sip from the chalice.
Wait, let me paper pop.
Paper pop. Look, it's fall break. The casuals are not in town. Everybody that wants to be at this football game is in town. And what does Mima always say? Mima says, stay 4 quarters. Mima says, make an impact on the game. Mima says, be loud, be proud, and help this team win. Show up, show out. Last one in Lane Stadium. Make it happen. I cannot wait to send these seniors off the right way. Let's get in Lane Stadium one last time. Let's make it a party. Shout out to you, Josh Pate. Keep doing it better than anybody does it on the national side of things. So without further ado, let's jump into our lines for the game, which have been all over the place, Pat. All over the place.
All over the place. I want to say we opened up as dogs. We opened
dogs, I think.
We were 1-point dogs, 1.5-point dogs, but nonetheless, the line is shifted right now. To my undisclosed sports book, it is Hokies minus 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, NC State getting 2.5 points. And then the over-under is 44. So not anticipating too many points here. However, if Virginia Tech plays the way that Virginia Tech's been playing at home, we're going to score 38 points again. It's what we are prescribing every single home victory. But this is the most talented team to come to Virginia Tech, and we are 2.5-point favorites. That's a great feeling. That also, means that we probably haven't played the toughest of competition at home this year, since we're favored against the best team that we're playing at home. But a lot of eyes and ears going for the Hokies here.
I know we're shouting out podcasters. We're shouting out podcasters, so I'm going to do my best Curtis Wilson, the hand rub. The little hand rub as we look at it's time for score predictions of this football game. Pat, you just went, so I'll give you a little bit of a breather. I'll go first. I'm going to go 31-24 Virginia Tech. It feels like I might be wrong. I'm just going off of vibes. I feel like we scored 31 points like 15 times this year. I feel like that's been like the number that we have scored in terms of points. 31, 32, 30. I feel like we're right in that region.
38.
30. We did score 38 last week. So I'm going to go 31-24 Virginia Tech. Is it 38?
Yeah, the number's 30. I think the number's 38.
Oh, that's even better. Okay. Then I'll go 38-24. Okay. I'll go 38-24. Really excited to watch Kyron Drones in this group in Lane Stadium one more time. I'm also excited to watch Tucker Holloway return punts in Lane Stadium. He's been so fun to watch punts all season long. So
hopefully he's healthy.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and go. This is my triumphant return to Blacksburg after 5 years of being in the Rocky Mountain High. My brother is coming up from Hilton Head. My folks are coming in from Pinehurst. Shout out Scott and Brent and Susan. It's going to be a little Holmes family reunion. We're going to get our tailgate on. We're going to go hang out at Tots on Friday with Pete B and the rest of the folks there at the party at Tots. It is going to be live. It is going to be in full color. I will be full tilt poker with the mustache, with everything else. And I can tell you right now, Hokies win 34-14. Book it.
I mean, that would be awesome. That would be great. I would love that.
Coach Holmes is ready. One-way ticket to Cover Town, USA.
Absolutely.
All in. I will round it out here. I have Tech winning 23-16. I don't know if the jig is up on being too comfortable in Lane Stadium during third and fourth quarters. We haven't felt really nervous at any point at home this season, other than when Pittsburgh kind of had their spurt of back-to-back touchdown possessions. I guess they had a defensive touchdown. They didn't have a possession. And obviously the Purdue game, which is an anomaly, and we don't talk about the Purdue game. But I yearn for the 34-14 game as well. I would absolutely love that. I am just, a little concerned. This is a good ball club coming in, very well coached, knowing that, hey, Virginia Tech has had a very solid season at home. But, close games also, it's important to win close games. So regardless, I do have us winning the football game. Now, I got to say, rounding us out with score predictions here, Coach Holmes, you got the tailgate running, and you have the Hokies kicking some tail. But we got to talk about the paraphernalia on your hat, because I do see, is that a shrimp tail, a lobster tail? What do we got going on from your brother down there in the Low Country?
It is a shrimp. It is a shrimp, and it is. Wait, I got to turn it the other way. It is Virginia Tech. There's a little VT there, but it's from Low Country Living. It's an apparel company down there in outside of Hilton Head in Bluffton, South Carolina, and it's my brother was nice enough to send one of these up here to me.
Love it. Love the cool Hokie merch. I did decide to wear my 8 in the box hat to the pod here. Shout out to Hal Byers. Came in the mail here over the weekend. But what else we got, guys? Anything else you want to talk about here? I know we're through the notes.
I don't have anything else. I'm checking to see if we had any late Hokie questions come in. None came in. I know you have one haiku to share here. I'm assuming it's Viagra related. Is it?
Grady B texted me. Billy's Blue Pilling. Pfizer, a new sun sponsor. Get large and go strong. Then we can,
man,
go to
as long as there's none of that gas station stuff being promoted on this podcast, I think I'll be okay. As long as there's no Rhino Energy or Extends being promoted here on the podcast. It is 8:15. It's past our bedtime. Looking forward to it. Coach Holmes, can't wait to see you. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome time. Again, please keep an eye out. Coach Kinzer is coming on the podcast. We'll also have Sam Jesse is doing Behind Enemy Lines with the Red White podcast, which should be fantastic. They do a fantastic job over there. I will not be in town until Saturday. Sad face. I have a wedding on Friday. Not a sad face. Really excited to hang out.
No fall weddings.
I know. I got to tell you, the person having the wedding probably has no idea it's football season. So, all due respect to Nina Temple, about to be Nina Lockbaum, but not big on football. Big on skiing, not big on
football. Lockbaum is not locked on the Hokies this year.
Everybody, have a great rest of your week. Hokies basketball tomorrow. Queens of Casa will be posted tomorrow. And let's keep the good vibes going. And, Pat, take us out. You know what you got to say.
Go Hokies, go sports. Enjoy the games, and go Birds, baby.